Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. Zack Wheeler is nearly perfect in the final game against the Cincinnati Reds. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about Wheels, the best start of the year on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic for over 5 years doing sports talk radio here in Philly. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube. If you're checking us out on YouTube, we're available there and wherever you get your podcasts, and all that stuff really helps us out. It's all free and easy. And if you subscribe to the YouTube, that gets you notifications when new episodes are posted so you don't miss any of our Phillies content. Appreciate everyone who's done that and going to. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Oh, boy, do we have to talk about Zack Wheeler. He was unbelievable yesterday. Best pitcher on the face of the planet for my money, and he is making a strong case to start the All-Star game. We'll talk about that. We are also going to talk about the changes to the Phillies rotation with Mick Abel being set back down to the minor leagues over the weekend, and we're going to preview a big series with the San Francisco Giants out there in a spot where the Phillies feel like they never play well. But did you really think we were going to talk about anything besides Zack Wheeler to start this episode? He was unbelievable on Sunday. He goes out, throws the first complete game of the year for the Philadelphia Phillies. His first complete game since 2021, which is shocking considering how good he's been, but also a point of reference when people say, hey, they just don't let pitchers throw as long as they used to. Yeah, the days of 3, 4, 5, 6 complete games in a season are pretty much done. The complete game has gone the way of the dinosaur. So it's even more special when you see it. And it was one pitch away from being as special as it gets. Yeah, Zack Wheeler missed a perfect game by one darn pitch. Austin Hayes took him yard in the 5th inning. That was the only base runner that reached, and Wheeler never threw out of the stretch. He was from the windup the entire game, every single pitch he threw. Didn't walk anybody. Struck out 12. Threw a complete game. Missed the shutout, no-hitter, perfect game, obviously, from that Hayes swing. But still, I mean, it was unbelievable. Every single time this guy goes to the mound, he does something special. And it's got me thinking about a whole bunch of different things, right? So the first place your mind goes is the upcoming All-Star game. And Zack Wheeler was named as an All-Star just a couple minutes after this game came to a close. We're going to talk tomorrow, actually, a little bit more about this whole All-Star snub situation because there were some rough ones. So tune into tomorrow's episode to hear that. But there's so much from the weekend to react to when it comes to what happened with the actual baseball team that we got to get into that. But the first place your mind goes, I think, is NL All-Star Game starting pitcher Zack Wheeler. That's how it should be, right? That is the right way to handle this. If you're Dave Roberts, who will be managing the National League team, you got to name Wheeler the starter. Like, I get it. Paul Skeens has also had a great year. It's between the two of them. Skeens started last year. And he started last year while some other pitchers had more deserving numbers, right? And that's fine. Like, I had no beef majorly with Paul Skeens starting the All-Star game last year because I get it. It is an exhibition game. He is a great pitcher. He was all the talk in baseball, and we know clearly he's an incredible pitcher. But that also opens the door to interpretation of situations. And Zack Wheeler has never started an All-Star game. He has never won a Cy Young. He is going to, if that holds, he would probably be one of, if not the best pitchers in the history of the sport to never win that award and never be in that position, right? So he's kind of got to get it, especially when he said, hey, when these next 2 years are up, so like this year and then 2 more years after, I mean, when his contract's up, I'm walking away. I'm retiring, right? There's a clock that's ticking down on Zack Wheeler's major league career. It is only right for him to start the All-Star game for the National League. And I mean, he was unbelievable. Like, I keep saying unbelievable. It really is, because I'm sitting there watching him in the 9th inning. throw 98 and 99 by guys. Like, who does that? At over 100 pitches or in the high 90s of pitches, still having that velocity, spotting stuff, ridiculous breaking stuff. Just everything was working for Zack Wheeler yesterday. We're so lucky to have him. And he is going to be a force to be reckoned with the rest of the season and in the postseason. And that's just another feather in the cap of this Phillies team that you can say, okay, that's a reason we can point to why we can compete. Now, it sucks that he only throws once every 5 days, so it's not like he can carry the Phillies to a World Series himself. But man, if there was a single pitcher on the planet right now who could carry a team to a World Series, it would be Zack Wheeler. He's been that good. Also, speaking of yesterday's game, got to give credit to Bryson Stott, who had a big 2-run home run in the 8th inning, put the Phillies up 3-1, give them the lead. And they really needed that, because if they had wasted a near perfect game from Zack Wheeler and not won that game, I would have absolutely lost my mind, as would have all of you guys. So it was really well done from Wheels. And then you start thinking, once you get past the All-Star game conversation, about the NL Cy Young. Like, is he the guy? Well, this could be the year. But this is the Zack Wheeler year, right? This is it. This is his peak performance. I can't see him ever being better than he is right now. But I probably would have said that last year. And I probably would have said it the year before. He just continues to defy the odds. I mean, just do the impossible, I'll say, because we know he's a great pitcher. So it's not like anyone's betting against Zack Wheeler at this point, but it's just, could this be the year where it's just like All-Star game starter, NL Cy Young, maybe even a World Series? Like, how great of a year would that be for Zack Wheeler? That'd be amazing. That'd be the likes of what Saquon Barkley did for the Eagles, the likes of what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, just a guy who puts everything on his back and says, let's go. I'm going to do something nobody else can do and do it every day. Or, in his case, every 5th day. So credit to Wheels. Also credit to the Phils. They lost game 1. Andrew Abbott threw a gem, but you take the final 2 games of the series, so you've now won 3 straight series, and you're hanging out and saying, okay, cool, we feel pretty darn good about the way we're playing baseball right now in a tough stretch of the schedule. Now it's going to get tougher. This West Coast swing is going to be a tough one for the Philadelphia Phillies, and that's why I said previously, I forget if I said it here or if I said it on radio. I talk so much, I lose track of what I say where and how. But this was a huge series for the Phillies to win, because I think they are going to have a tough time in San Fran. I think they're going to have a tough time in San Diego. Their next 2 series are going to be difficult for them to win. So you need to make sure you have the proper momentum going into this series against the Giants and the start of this 6-game West Coast swing that leads into the All-Star break. And what better way to create momentum, to get the vibes going, than having a guy go out there and give you that type of start? What more could you ever want out of a start from a pitcher? Like, realistically, you could never ask for more. No hitter, perfect game. No one shows up and says, this guy better throw a no hitter today. This guy better throw a perfect game today. Heck, in today's baseball, people don't even show up and say, this guy better go complete game today. It's like 7 or 8 innings is all you normally see. I don't know how many more ways I could say it, but Zack Wheeler has been the best player on this team. Hitter, position player, or pitcher, any of those. He has been the best player on this team this year. And there are no signs of slowing down for him. He seems like he's just going to do this every time out forever. And we know that there are going to be blips on the radar. Like, he's not just going to go out and nearly throw a perfect game every time for the rest of the year with still, what have they played, like 89 games, 88 games, whatever it is. Not a big math guy. He's not going to do it every time, but these are the types of starts that make you think about, what if he does this in October? We've seen him do it in October. And the counter to that is still always going to be game 1 against the Mets from last year, where he threw a gem and then ended up losing because the bullpen gave it up. So you need to add to the bullpen to help him out. And that's something that is absolutely going to be on the docket ahead of the July 31st trade deadline. We're inching closer every day. But the biggest takeaway of any from this series is that man on the mound is on a mission this year, whether it's for individual accolades, whether it's for team success and winning games for the Philadelphia Phillies. There is not a single player on the planet, or single pitcher, I should say, on the planet that I'd rather have on the mound in a winner-go-home game than Zack Wheeler. And I think a lot of other people would tell you that as well. Phillies fans or otherwise. So, well, you got something, all right? Things are okay for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, they need to continue to step it up and continue to survive this tough stretch. The bats, not great yesterday. I mean, not awesome in the series in general, even though they were able to find 2 victories. So I'd like to see a little bit more consistency in the run production aspect, but you can't argue with the starting pitching you're getting from the top 3 guys. Luzardo, a little bit sketchy in his start against Andrew Abbott on Friday. So we'll see if his control comes back, but that's kind of the only major concern pitching-wise from the series that popped up. It was a nice weekend series. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their 4th of July, and Zack Wheeler ended it with some fireworks on Sunday. But some guy did not have fireworks this weekend. Well, maybe he saw him somewhere. He had time on his hands. Mick Abel got sent back down to Lehigh Valley. And I had said previously I would let him make another start. So do I agree with the Phillies' decision to send him back down? Kinda. I'll explain fully coming up next as we continue Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Monarch Money, though, because you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, well, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And here's the thing about having everything all together in one app. Think about it. There's certain apps you check more than others, right? Like I go on Twitter and Instagram more than I go on Facebook and TikTok. But all of that is my social media stuff, and I do that for work. But sometimes you lose track of things when they're all spread out. All together in one app, you never miss a thing. You just hit one app on your phone, you search through everything. It's all right there for you, and all your information is also stored there, which makes it safer and easier. So that's the way you want to get it done, and that's how Monarch Money gets it done for you. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and you'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go ahead and check out our friends at monarchmoney.com. All right, let's talk about this Mick Abel decision, because the Phillies decided to send down Mick Abel. They recalled Seth Johnson, and just like that, he's back in the minors. Now, after his last start, not surprising that they decided to go this route. That was definitely on the table. And Rob Thompson was non-committal after the start as to whether or not he would make his next one. Now, I had said previously on the podcast, I want to see him make his next start, because I don't feel great about the fact that Taijuan Walker is throwing in this series. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to – it's not last year Walker where I'm like, get this dude off my baseball team. I never want to see him again. He was that bad last year. But it isn't like, yay, I'm excited to watch Taijuan Walker pitch. Part of that is probably because Wheeler sets the bar so high. Sanchez sets the bar so high. Suarez sets the bar so high. Luzardo has at points this year set the bar so high. So it may be unfair, and Walker has not had a bad year, but they go with that over Mick Abel. Now, some people might be wondering, where's Andrew Painter? If you're sending down Abel, why not call up Painter to take that spot? I don't know what to tell you. They've had the plan of July-ish, like mid-July, maybe just after the All-Star break, has kind of seemed to be the aim point for the Phillies for calling up Andrew Painter. Because this is, as much as it is a Mick Abel conversation in this segment, it's a Andrew Painter conversation as well. But I think they're going to have Taijuan Walker make this start before the All-Star break. It will just be one start, and then you will get the break. Andrew Painter is going to be resting down in AAA to match up with the team's schedule. And I have this feeling that when they come back from the All-Star break, when the Phillies get back to their regular schedule, Painter will be called up. That's my gut feeling. Now, I don't know. That's just guessing. I'm not reporting anything, but it seems like it matches up too well for it to not happen. You have a hole in the rotation. I don't really want Taijuan Walker to fill that for long term. He's had a wild year going back and forth from the bullpen to the rotation to the bullpen to the rotation. So I'd like to keep him a little more stabilized. And then also you need the bullpen help. So I'd like him to, even though he is not a top-of-the-line reliever by any stretch of the imagination, he is a usable arm in Major League Baseball games out of the Phillies bullpen, which is more than you could say for some people who have been in the bullpen this year. But I don't know. Is this the right decision for Abel? I would have liked to see him get a chance to bounce back, right? Because going down after that type of a start, not that you get sent down after great starts, like let him throw a no-hitter and then send him down. Like, no, that doesn't happen either. But I wonder about the kid's confidence. I wonder where he's at mentally from his first foray into the majors. Like, if you're Mick Abel, do you go, yeah, I kind of outdueled Paul Skeens in a game in my debut, and I had some really good performances at points, and then I had some really bad performances, and the long ball crushed me, and the command was an issue lately. So have stuff to work on, but there are also upsides to take away. So have we seen the last of Mick Abel this year for the Philadelphia Phillies? I don't think so. You just always need more arms, and you never know what's going to happen with the rotation. Hopefully everyone stays healthy, knock on wood, but that's a rarity for Major League Baseball rotations, to just have guys like that. No word on Aaron Nola as well as where in the world he is in his potential return from the injured list. So he's not really factoring into the plans right now. There is an opening. So I don't think we've seen the last of Mick Abel this year, but I'm not clamoring to give him more starts right now. I'm okay with him going down to AAA. I just would have liked to see, because there was one more start for him before the All-Star break, have him make it. And then at the All-Star break, you could just make the switch anyway, right? That's what I would have done, but we'll see. And now you have Taijuan Walker throwing out there, and I guess road game, they might have seen something with Abel where they're like, yeah, we just really can't put him out there. And he only threw an inning and 2/3, right? So didn't even get out of the second inning in his last appearance. So I guess that was enough for the Phillies to say this is our drop dead point on Mick Abel. Now, the other part of this Abel conversation is trade deadline related. And trade deadline has been a big part of every conversation for what feels like the past month. And it's still, so today's the 7th, so 24 days away till the MLB trade deadline. And that's time for things to develop more. But Abel was a piece that looked very tradable when he was throwing well at the major league level. And now has he tanked his trade stock by the past couple of starts? I would not say he tanked it. Now, it has gone down, definitively gone down. You can't see that and have the same interest in having that player as you did before. So not ideal, but there's nothing else the Phillies could have done, right? He was good enough to throw at the major league level, or at least looked like he was good enough to throw. Dave Dombrowski said he was ready. He looked ready when he first came up. So you continue to give him the opportunity. So remember, he was sent down right after that start against Paul Skeens that he won in his debut, and then called back up and then sent back down. So this is not the first time Abel has gone down. And I guess that does disprove the whole thing of they won't send you down after a stellar start. And sometimes they do based on who's available to come back and stuff like that. But I still think you can move Abel as part of a deal. I just don't think he's going to be the cornerstone of a deal right now for anybody. Like when I say cornerstone of a deal, like it's Mick Abel and guys you've never heard of. I think it may have to be another prospect whose name we're familiar with, not Andrew Painter, not Aiden Miller, not Justin Crawford, but some other guys that you hear about if you look at the minor league system for the Phillies. So I don't think it's a killer ahead of the deadline we're able through, because the other thing you have to look at is upside, right? Think about, and this is a bad example, but, well, it's a bad example for right now. Jose Alvarado was a guy that the Tampa Bay Rays just decided, yeah, we're good on him. We're going to trade him, right? And that's the Phillies go out and they find a way to acquire him from Tampa. And he turned into a monster here. Now, part of that reasoning may be the juice that he was on with the PED suspension that he got. But I don't know who's to say. I don't want to chalk it all up to that. I say all of this to say that if you have upside on a hard-throwing pitcher who has really good stuff, and Mick Abel is a hard-throwing pitcher who has really good stuff, you might pull the trigger on that, especially considering he's a former first-round draft pick. He has some major league experience now, so you can move that guy. And also he's young-ish, so when you look at a team that would be trading away pieces that a team like the Phillies could use, they're probably going to be a rebuilding and selling team. I know I don't love it because I want to see more of Mick Abel developing with the Philadelphia Phillies, but I think he is still very, very tradable. And honestly, I think he's their most likely trade chip when you get to the actual deadline. It's hard to move guys at the major league level when you're a contending team because the good players that anybody wants are helpful to you winning, and the players that nobody wants at the major league level are less intriguing than prospects because you already have an idea what those guys are. There's not as much ceiling there for them to continue to grow. So Abel out of the rotation, down in the minors, trade stock a little bit down. It has not been a good stretch for Mick Abel, but I do not think that this is the last we see of him at the major league level for the Phillies unless he is traded before they call him back up. And then in that case, well, it would be. And I do still think, again, I don't think a couple of starts outweigh the potential upside of a prospect like Mick Abel. That's it. He's not going to be a guy that gets you a bunch for just himself, but he's a guy that's movable. And the Phillies have enough starting pitching that they can survive having Taijuan Walker make one start. And then hopefully it's Andrew Painter time on the backside of the All-Star break. Coming up next, we're going to preview a place that the Phillies must not be excited about going to because San Francisco has been a terrible place for them to play. How do they fix that? Well, we will talk about it coming up next as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. So the Phils head out for a 6-game West Coast swing, couple of late nights. So make sure you get your coffee in the morning and your nap time in during the day. Tonight, they will start their series with the San Francisco Giants, 9:45 p.m. out there at, Oracle Park now? They change the names of these stadiums all the time. What I do know is that the Phillies have not won a series in San Francisco since 2013. Hard to believe, but man, they do not play well out there. And I don't know what it is. Maybe you can let me know. I asked people about this on the radio today. I'll ask you in the comments of the YouTube. Like, any idea what it is that makes the Phillies not play well out there? I have some theories, right? So I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the makeup of this team. It's not Dave Dombrowski. It's not the bullpen. It's none of that because 2013, man, it's been a while. It's been 12 years since the Phillies have won a series out there in San Francisco. That team was entirely different. I mean, that team was closer to the 2008 World Series than it was their 2022 World Series appearance. So I don't want to look at the makeup of the team and be like, well, it's because they build their team this way. That can't be it because there's been too much turnover between now and the last time they won a series down there. Now, could it be just a weird statistical anomaly where, I don't know, maybe they haven't been as bad in the individual games, but just like the Giants have been solid? Maybe, but I think the biggest determining factor of this is just the fact that it's a West Coast opponent that's been pretty quality, right? The Giants are not winning any World Series this year, right? That's not going to happen. But in that time frame that we're looking at for the 2013 to now stretch of not winning a series out there, they've never really been terrible, right? They've never been a worst team in baseball bat. And then middle of the road, sometimes a little bit above middle of the road, the Giants have when the Phillies have faced them. And that should make you feel a little bit better about the numbers, even though the numbers are not good, right? It's not that they're getting beat by a nobody team. So that may play into it as well. But you just think about it, right? Going East Coast to West Coast is already tough enough. So it's hard to play those road trips out and play your best baseball. Also, it always kind of feels like the Phillies are getting the Giants on the back end of like being out there for a couple of days. You don't go like the Phillies might play the Braves for 3 games and then come back. They might play Washington for 3 games and then come back home. You don't go to the West Coast for 3 games, right? You always go for 6 or 9 or 10 long trips that lead to you being away from home for a while, which the Phillies are, like most teams, better at home, lesser on the road. So all the travel logistics, the time zone change. It is a big ballpark out there, so maybe that plays against the type of team that gets built for Citizens Bank Park, even though it's not like any individual players because there has been so much turnover. I don't know what it is, but they don't play well out there. So let's set the proper expectations for the road trip. San Diego is going to be a tough one. Good team. You just took 2 or 3 from them. They didn't look great in that series here in Philly. Now you got to go to their place after you get done with the Giants. So that's going to be a tough spot. If you're going to go 500 on this road trip, I think you got to win this series against the Giants. And tonight is a great opportunity to get out on the right foot for that because Christopher Sanchez is on the mound against Landon Raup. My mistake. And he pitched against the Phillies earlier this year. And the Phillies did lose that game. But Raup gave up 4 runs in his start. So you can get this guy. Righty, so that plays into the Phillies lefties being able to hit. And you like to see that. So for tonight's game, I'm very intrigued as to what Christopher Sanchez is going to do. They have talked, the Phillies starters, about this idea of keeping momentum growing or beating the guy that threw the day before. So like Wheeler has brought up and he's like, when I pitch after Ranger and I see Ranger throw well, motivates me to throw better than Ranger threw. And I know that it motivates Sanchez to throw better than I threw. And my question to that is, how in the world do you follow up a near perfect game with 12 strikeouts and a complete game win? Right? Can Christopher Sanchez do better than that? I would bet against it tonight. But that motivation of like, man, he just shoved. I'm going to have to go out there and be really, really good if we're going to find a way to win the game tonight, especially because the offense was quiet in that series against Cincinnati, and you're going to see some solid pitching in San Fran. San Francisco has 3 all-star starters. Yeah, wild for a team that's sitting at, 49 and 42 right now? I guess 7 games above 500 ain't bad, but 3 all-star starters, and the Phillies have 1. And I say starters as in starting pitchers, right? So the offense could be at a premium, especially with the way that ballpark works out there. You're going to need to get good starting pitching again. So Sanchez is huge tonight. I am intrigued on some of the lefties because if you can hit it out of somewhere in San Francisco, it's down the lines. And with a righty on the mound, maybe Harper gets one. Maybe Schwarber puts one in the Cove out there. Maybe Kepler runs into one if he's playing. Maybe Marsh gets another one. The lefties have been swinging it better outside of Bryce Harper for the Philadelphia Phillies as of late. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then just taking a look at the other games in the series, just to give you the flow of how the series is going to go. You got Taijuan Walker against Robbie Ray tomorrow night. Walker getting put back into the rotation. Ray, one of those all-star starters for the Giants that I mentioned just a little bit ago. So that'll be a tough one. And then God only knows what you're getting in the Wednesday day game, 3:45, so afternoon game here, day game on the West Coast. Jesus Luzardo is going to try and follow up an outing with rough command against Justin Verlander, who is 0-6 on the year with a 4.84 ERA. So here's what you do, right? You got to win tonight because I don't like the chances of win tomorrow with Taijuan Walker on the mound. And then you got to hope that the Phillies hitters can get to Justin Verlander. But if you think back to the 2022 World Series, I know there are going to be some people seeing ghosts when they see Verlander on the mound, remembering what he did for that Astros team against this Phillies team. So win game 1, game 2, probably not going to go your way. And then game 3, bit of a toss-up, and that'll be the one that decides the series. Good deal? We all on the same page on that one? And how about winning a series for the first time in, 12 years out there in San Francisco? How great would that feel for this team? Because I guarantee you they know it. Whether they know the number or not, this team with these guys who have been here, most of them in the city for 3, 4, 5 years, they know they haven't played well out there. And they know that they're playing good baseball right now. So you want momentum heading into the All-Star break. Remember, there have been times in the past where it doesn't really work out that way. And it's not necessarily like they got swept by the Athletics heading into the All-Star break. What was that, last year? And then the collapse continued in the second half. So not a perfect example to make you feel okay, but I'm just saying, like, win or lose series out of the All-Star break, they still are just one series. You just feel much better if you come off the 6-game road trip. Go 3-3. Win 2 of 3 in San Francisco. Win 1 of the 3 in San Diego. We're good, right? That's baseline expectations. If you're able to win the series in San Diego against the Padres as well, we will take that too. But that's the expectation. Just survive till the All-Star break, and then the schedule gets much easier. Then before you know it, it's the trade deadline, and the team gets better. Now, how much better will they get? That's a conversation for when we get closer to the deadline and what they do. But then the reinforcements come in. Then you hit the easiest part of your schedule, and then you go on a roll, right? You're a game and a half up on the Mets in the division, so you're hanging on to a slim lead in the NL East. try and extend it. Go out there and find a victory tonight. I like the Phillies in tonight's game, and I also like Kyle Schwarber to go yard. I think he's going to get one out there on the West Coast. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the All-Star snubs and the Phillies who did make it and have a discussion about that. And we'll also react to tonight's game in San Francisco against the Giants. But please make sure, as always, you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all of that great stuff that really helps us out. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I will talk to you tomorrow. A very tired version of the podcast tomorrow, staying up till about 1 a.m. here on Locked On Phillies.